the 135th episode of CloudFocus Weekly. For the first day, it's going to be May 2013. This episode is titled Salesforce Summer 13. CloudFocus Weekly is sponsored by Arkus, your cloud computing experts. I'm your host, Jason Howard, and joining me in one of our 17 studios, now with our travel mics, because we decided to go to our other studio, is Justin Osteen. Justin, how are you doing?
Is that what we did? We just decided?
Hey,
just go to the other studio. We don't need a studio anymore.
Because we have these travel mics?
We're so mobile.
They don't.
We are the customer company.
They do not sound as well.
We're so social.
They do not sound as good as the blue.
We're mobile. These are blue.
Well, the blue snowflakes do not sound as good as the snowballs.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't expect that. The snowball is a higher end. It's also bigger. It's like 3 times the size. I don't know if bigger is always better, but maybe with microphones it is.
When it comes to blue snowballs,
bigger is always better.
And then we're done. Okay.
Alrighty. And do we cut here or do we keep going?
Let's keep going to our agenda. To our agenda. And our agenda for
moving right along
today is a couple things. Actually, I want to talk first because we always talk about this at the end, but I figure if we talk about it the first, we'll get people excited about it because people, I think, when we're done with our CloudFocus Weekly, they when we say the CloudFocus Weekly Pick of the Week, that's when they hit off. So I figured if we mentioned at the beginning. So we have actually 2 new great reviews on iTunes.
I love reviews.
Yeah, and I hadn't mentioned them. They actually come one right after another. I think right after our Getting Things Done episode, which from the timing it looks about right. One from a longtime listener, Justin Withers. So thank you for that. And the other one I can't tell because it's like Alora Doque or something. But anyway, 2 great reviews on iTunes. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. So we'll start it off by saying, please go to iTunes and review us. That would be great. I wish there was a non-Apple podcasting place we could tell people to go review us.
Maybe as podcasters, we should figure that place out.
Listen, I've been podcasting since 2007. I've looked, but that's sort of the place. Even the person we're talking today, he's like, well, that's probably the place you go. I mean, once you subscribe, you can subscribe anywhere. But the place to kind of review podcasts is iTunes.
Yeah.
I wish there was
iTunes. They kind of own it.
They kind of own it. It's funny because they didn't try to own it, and now they own it. All right, so go to iTunes and review CloudFocus Weekly. This week on blog.arkusinc.com, a write-up, not done by either one of us, but a write-up by the partner who shall not be named, of our exploits, not all of them, of our Actian Integration World 13. We talked about it a little bit last week, so this is the write-up of it, sort of talking about what we learned and what we saw. So kind of if you didn't get to go, or if you want to know more about Integration World or what it is or why we're even talking about it, go to blog.arkusinc.com and read up on that. Again, we talked about it last week, so I don't want to rehash that. And we have a ton to talk about in our all Salesforce release party podcast. So for the rest of the podcast, it's all about the Salesforce Summer 13 release. We have some breaking sort of demos and news. We saw some stuff today that we can talk about, which is kind of cool. So let's dig right in. And this is not, there will be a follow-up just for those who are not subscribed to the blog. We now do not 1, not 2, but maybe 3 or 4 different series about the release notes. So you used to do one called...
I always do the rapid reaction.
Except for once, but yes.
Once I let someone else do it.
Yes.
But I like to get those... Since I am the blog master, I get to time that up for myself.
Easiest blog post to write.
No, you have to read 260-something pages.
But we all have to read it anyway.
And then you have to digest it and put out your thoughts on it.
So you digest it, then you put out your thoughts.
That's right.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I wish those hand motions could be gestured through
see that.
the microphone. But yeah, now we're going to do a series around each release. So we'll either dive into a specific topic area. We're going to keep going on the sales. Right. So down that path. So each release for salespeople.
Right.
Because I think that's very important.
Yep.
Particularly
especially
when we're talking about a sales tool
Yeah.
Salesforce
moving further and further away from being a
but
sales
still
tool,
the
but
core
yes.
of which is a Salesforce automation tool.
Previously known as a Salesforce automation tool.
And we'll continue to do that until we get some feedback that tells us to write about something else.
Well, it's funny because you and I were looking over a little bit, opening the kimono. You and I were going back and forth over iChat the other day about the blog and what we should write about. And since you are the blog master, since we made you that, because no one else will on the job, but
I sit on the Iron Throne.
Yes, you do. So we were talking about it, and I was looking at the top 10 of all time blog posts in terms of hits or unique visitors, like any way you cut it, and 3 of them were not about Salesforce. So I was like, I think we should be doing a certain percentage that are not about it. But interesting enough, and even to this, like the reviews came in after our big whatever, and we talked to someone today who was a big podcast listener and listens to all of ours, and says out of all the podcasts for the top 4, so he's like one of the ones we listen to every week, he's like, those were great. He likes those deep divey like riffs where we go off and go into some, it's all about one thing.
Well, let's riff on Summer 13.
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
And we're done. So
Summer 13.
Last weekend,
nice logo.
I took some time and I read through pretty thoroughly 269 pages of the whatever release notes I had at the time. Was very excited to see, we have a thing we say here at Arkus, which is that the longer the release notes, the better. So we've seen really small ones. We're like, well, what's that all about? This one is one of the biggest, must be one of the biggest we've seen in a long time.
It's enormous. I wrote the rapid release notes blog already. It won't be out until next week, so
right.
You guys can read it up. I'll try to stay away from features that I wrote about, although it's going to be a little hard for one or two of them. But it's packed full of the visionary stuff and the core stuff.
Right.
This is, I wrote at the end of the blog, I wrote, this is what every release should be like. If it's not 260 pages, that's fine. If it's 100 pages,
right.
Great. But make some of it about the vision and the customer company and the, chatter communities are kind of the highlight of this one.
Right.
But also make it about opportunity splits and
right.
make it about, fine-grained entitlements on report folders, things that
right.
people have been asking for forever that are coming.
Right.
So make it about both of those things. Don't go one way or the other, and clearly keep innovating on the platform.
So you're saying Summer 13, one of the most even-handed releases?
I feel it has been in a while. Yeah, there's a lot of things in Summer 13 that are big thinky things, and there's a lot of nice little items that are
little
little
thinky things.
I like that.
So
things that should have just been done.
Let's talk about, since it's fresh in our minds, since we saw a demo of it today, which we can talk about 80% of what we saw.
No, I think we could talk about almost everything except for just who the demo was for. So
let's do some shout outs.
Shout out TJ Stevens, listener, Salesforce. I think he's a principal sales engineer.
Okay.
So thank you very much, TJ. We appreciate it. He spent an hour with us this morning showing us a chatter community that was built out for a customer of Salesforce's.
So it looked like a proof of concept. It didn't look like a live
It was
org.
the sales engineer version.
Right.
So, it wasn't theirs, but it was totally branded and it was totally done up to meet the look and feel and the requirements of the company, which we will not name. We're
it's
we're
hurting
keep
you.
this company. Well, it's hard because it's the company,
right?
And it's a really interesting concept. So, chatter communities. I came out of reading the release notes saying, "Ooh," I had like an icky feeling in my. I don't know, just felt icky. Like, oh, you're gonna get away from portals and. We've spent and invested all this time in understanding what portals mean and customer portals and partner portals and over the years.
Even a blog post about what the differences are.
Yeah, I mean, how to even understand what you want and how to give access to external users to internal data, which is really the crux of portal is is that beauty of being on one platform and having multiple views of it. So the external viewer and the internal viewer acting on the same data. And all of a sudden, it's like that goes away. And that disappears.
And pretty harshly. I will say, like, so we've seen, I mean, again, we talk about how long we've been doing Salesforce brag, but I've seen features been taken away in the past, right? We've seen things get slowly moved out. We've seen long warnings as of this date.
We've seen harsh things as well.
I feel like this, but as far as a huge feature set, this is a pretty harsh one. This is like, as of this date, no new ones.
Well, I'll give you, I mean, almost... I think
self-service portal, but they gave you 6 months.
No, they did not. Oh, yeah, they were like, this release, no new self-service portals.
Yeah, I think you go back and read it. They told you one whole release in advance.
I don't think so. I think the same thing happened with the content slide builder thing that they had out there.
That one they killed off pretty quickly.
Gonna die.
But content slide builder, presentation builder, and portals. Yeah. I mean, they're not even.
And we saw today a live working version of a community, and it just looked like a nicer, more updated, fresh version of what a portal would look like. If you were to say, look at a portal that's like very out of the box, it's very in the box, it's very boxy. Like the tabs are very square.
You are a master of the words tonight.
Thank you.
Thinky
Smithy.
And boxy.
Very wordsmithy today.
Wordsmithy.
Yep. And it's very, welcome to 1999 and your portal, sir.
Yeah.
Here are your boxes and squares.
Here's your square tabs.
Right. And here's the, hexadecimal colors that you can change.
That's
right?
true.
But this is more like log into your, I'm air quoting, portal or your community and see Salesforce as it looks today. Rounded edges, nice colors, chatter, which is the big one.
Right.
Chatter. So chatter inside a portal is a huge ask, and this is kind of the answer. Here's chatter in a portal. It's called a community.
Yeah, and
enjoy it.
And this is what I'm kind of struggling with, is because, and again, this is product people and marketing. They kind of come up with this. So after you watch this whole thing, at the end, I that's what I got. I got it. Okay, it's really just you couldn't figure out a way to take the current portals and put chatter in it because either the technology or the code base or whatever wouldn't allow it. So you went the opposite way. You said, we'll just build something from scratch with, we'll make it something new and we'll kind of depreciate it. It's kind of the lazy way out. Like, could have done it the other way, but all the migrations and all that, I could see it being a nightmare.
Yeah.
So what they're saying is, listen, portals going away, communities new, but it did. It was what we always say when we talk to our clients. They're like, oh, portal, and you're like, okay, so now I got to talk to you about portals.
Now we have to talk about what do you want your portal to look like.
Well, and we have to say the difference. If you want, and when we scope this for clients, we say, if you want the portal out of the box look, that's an hour. If you want a fully customized so it looks like your website, that's 100 hours. I mean, I'm just throwing numbers out there.
Those are nice round numbers.
1
in 100.
But it's
somewhere between.
But it is very, like, it's a cliff. Right?
Yeah,
it's a
it
cliff
certainly is. It absolutely is. And then the question becomes, how do I get, because oftentimes people will ask about chatter and they'll see chatter and they'll be like, well, how do I get my portal users to use chatter, or why is that a barrier?
Right.
And now we have an answer for that. I found it very interesting, the permissioning around. I'm always interested in permissions.
Of course you are.
The permissioner, the permissions around how the communities are going to work. So and this is what I got from it, and I could be wrong, but every internal, already existing, paid, named, licensed user that is Salesforce, Force.com, Chatter Plus, whatever those are, have the ability to access communities. So a community is profile based. So you can assign a profile to a community, and you can have many communities. The answer to how many, we're not sure. But you can be
just like the answer to how much it costs. So
there's
lots of things
there's
we
lots
don't know.
of questions. But we also know that if you have a customer portal and a partner portal, you're grandfathered into both keeping those portals live for now at least, and you get community license. You're allowed to use communities.
Right.
So if you're a Salesforce user, you have communities. Or your license type would be enabled for communities if you buy them, I guess. Then there's the part about, enabling users to be a part of a community, and that happens at a profile level. So for each community, I guess you would create a different profile.
No, it's a permission set.
I don't know if it's a permission
Yeah,
set.
I'm pretty sure.
I didn't see that in the release notes around permission sets. It did not look as though you could.
That was the blog post I just wrote. Was one of the things was communities. It was done by permission sets. It was one of their big things they asked. You know what? I'll look it up while you.
All right. Well, I'll keep talking because I didn't see that as part of the. I didn't see that as part of the permission set changes, but maybe it's listed elsewhere in the release notes, like part of communities that you can say.
Yeah, community membership.
Okay.
One of the jaw-dropping new features of Summer 13 or something with. Okay.
All right. So that's good. At least they did that, so you could put it in the user.
It's in my blog post he read.
Oh, I didn't read it.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
No. Because it's 2 weeks away. Why would I read that now?
I'm way ahead of you, Blogmaster.
So that's an interesting way to think about permissions. And another thing that was around permissions that communities kind of breaks barriers on is
this was tough.
the idea and notion that it's not a portal, it's a community. So it is by its nature collaborative. Therefore, you can see everybody in the community unless you don't want to. So you have to and that's where the feature of user sharing, the user records being able to lock those down in org-wide defaults going to private is going to be very important.
But is that in Summer 13?
It is.
Oh, well, that one missed by me. I didn't see that one.
So that's part of these release, and it's going GA for external users. So you can make users sharing private for external users, and it's in pilot for internal. So if you think about that from a compliance perspective, making users actually private inside of an org.
Right. The idea is if you're looking for, if a community opens up this gap, and we came up with a scenario as we were watching it today, which was, hey, I log in, I get this chatter thing, great. I go to the people, it's not even a tab anymore, although it's a tab, but they don't want you to use the tab. I go to the people drop down in my chatter tab, and I click on it, and ooh, I see all these people. I see
all the
partners and clients and
all
the customers, and I see all the employees, and whoa, I just got global directory access.
Right.
That's an old joke. And that's a little odd and scary.
Especially the way I think a lot of people currently use portals is that people only see their company's stuff.
Right.
So if you're a customer portal, you're seeing your cases or your company's cases.
Right.
Or your company's custom objects, whatever they might be. Same for a partner portal. You're seeing your leads, your opportunities, but you're not seeing every other partner that exists in the universe. So
it's not, we're just talking about the user at this point. The object still has the
records still, continue to have that sharing around them. But we're just talking like users here. I don't know if you really want your customers to see every other customer or your partners to see every other partner. You may not. That depends on how you want to run your business. So you have to be cognizant of the fact that when you turn on communities, you're going to have to play around with those user sharing rules.
So let's talk about other. So I mean,
that was the big one.
It is the big one.
It's the big one.
It's weird because it's the least known, meaning it just. I mean, we kind of known it's come. They've seen it, but it's kind of shown up. It's I think making the biggest disruptive force in the Salesforce. Wow, I just almost went Star Wars on there.
Well, Chatter went nuts in this release.
And that's the other thing, is that while it's 269 pages, I want a breakdown. If someone is super Salesforce geek, even beyond my levels, and wants to break down what percentage of them are about a certain product.
Well,
right?
Chatter went nuts.
So like when permission sets came out, there was a huge section about it, right? Because it's new, and so there's lots about it. And here there's stuff that they mention on one line item that you could spend 3 pages talking about, but they don't. They just like one line item. This thing happens.
Right.
You're gonna,
I mean, there's two more big chatter pieces that are coming out in summer. One of them I think is bigger than the other. The publisher actions.
Okay, so let's talk about them.
So publisher actions are the ability to work within the feed.
Yep.
So as we've been predicting for a while, you've been predicting for a while, and Mark Benioff's been saying for a while.
Wait, what was I? I predicted it before he said it because it's kind of like whatever. All right.
You predicted it.
Episode 103.
Whatever. You said it. You're going to now be able to work within the feed. So the use case that I think of most often is sitting on an account and opening up the feed and being able to create an opportunity from right within the feed.
Right.
And it will respect required fields. It will respect validation rules. It is not quick create, ladies and gentlemen. Right. It is a real deal working within the feed, creating records.
So it's literally just a little, I mean, if you break it down, I'm in the feed and I have that, I can add a link, I can add a poll, I can add a whatever.
It's another button.
And it's another button, and then I guess it's going to have a lot of things I'm going to be able to add.
Well, it's a page layout editor.
And then it's going to add, it's a new page layout, a new type of page layout. So it's not the mini, it's not the full, it's a new one. And it's just going to overlay from the screenshots, overlay a kind of little, it is a quick create. It's not the quick create, but it's a ability to have this little mini page that's now overlaying the big thing that I'm looking at. So without having to scroll down or use the hover links, I'm now adding a contact from within the chatter feed. It's kind of different than what I thought it was going to be.
Sort of related record that exists there. And the cool part is not only can you create them from there, but as part of publisher actions comes the ability to see related records inside of the chatter feed itself. So
see the chatter of the related
of the related
not
records.
See the records.
Right, exactly. Sorry. So again, using the account example and opportunities or contacts, you will be able to see the chatter of all the opportunities that you follow.
Right.
That are related to that account. I got a clarification on that one because I think I was talking about it on last week's podcast.
Yes.
And Paul Walker, another listener, sent me
an
email. Another Salesforce sales engineer
Salesforce
in the UK sent me an email and said, "Hey, I looked into it in my pre-release org. Here's how it works."
So let's get that straight. I'm on an account.
You're on an account.
There's 17. Let's do cases because I think cases are a better use case. There's 50 cases.
50
associated to that account.
Correct.
If I'm following 10 of them,
right,
any chatter updates on any of those 10 cases would show up on the top in my account.
In your account chatter feed.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
It makes more sense than what you thought would happen, which is you get them all, because that would be too much.
Well, I actually thought you'd. I was thinking and hoping that you would only get the ones you followed.
Right.
So what I thought is what happened, which I'm happy about.
That's good. That is very.
It
good.
also changes the whole tasks in feed thing. Because
basically removing it.
Yeah, I think the feedback was this is terrible. So it's kind of gone.
Totally terrible.
Yeah.
They just moved it over, and it now I think the feature is you can turn it off, so it's only tasks created via this quick create in action publish that then will show up in the feed.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a good one. I like it. This is one of those that I mean, there's a lot of features that I could read and just go, that's the feature I want. I'm going to use it. I'm going to love it. This one, I'm like, okay, when am I going to use this? I'm so used to doing it in a certain way. Will I be in a feed? The time I can think about using it is actually it's sort of a bug of Salesforce, which is the whole expanded, non-expanded thing.
Right.
So, like, I have a whole bunch of chatter expanded. It moves my related lists all the way down, and over my hovers. So, instead of scrolling, I'm just or re-expanding my chat tab. I just go click create.
I mean, I could think in our org of one place where I might use it, which is I think a good place for us to start because you have to build them.
Right.
With deliverables and time, which might be a nice little just starter to see how it works.
That'd be interesting.
open
for our project management.
For our project management, exactly. And then, I mean, just to we'll stay on Chatter for one more moment.
One more.
Well, topics are coming out, and they're different than what we know as topics in our org.
As someone who's been in the topics
we've been in the topic pilot for a couple months, and we totally ignore them.
And I've been in the user whatever feedback loop. So they've had conversations with me. They've done would you like it to work like this? And I remember one of them being like, listen, I took them over to a website and I showed them, I said, make them like this. This is the way they need to be. Here, copy this. I feel like they did some of that. I'm not sure. So what, are you now excited about topics? I know I'm
getting a little more excited about topics because I'm totally not excited about what is in our org today. Because to me,
well, explain what topics are.
Well, they're kind of like an upgrade of hashtags. So they're an ad hoc grouping of Chatter posts that get added to an overall page that all have to do with this particular topic, for lack of a better word. So the hashtag is not going away, but they're kind of being upgraded. And I think you're going to have like a script where you can actually upgrade all your hashtags to topics. And then topics are going to have their own pages. You're going to be able to have favorite topics, topics that people are talking about, topics that groups are talking about. So you'll be able to see a lot of, I think we're going to see a little bit of a different version of what we have currently, because what we have currently isn't all that useful.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have the stuff that I think should. The ways I pointed them to was Quora, and I said if you're going to have something that is sort of galvanizing the idea or the topic of something, there's a couple of things. One, it can't be slow, right? If you're asking people to put metadata in, it's got to be really fast, and right now it's slow. Like it takes. I even showed it takes 30 seconds to come up with a suggested topic. No one's going to do that. And it's got to have some value to it, right? It's got to show expertise, or as I showed them in the example in Quora, I said, one of the nice things about Quora is you can follow a topic in Quora, but you can then put a bio about that topic. So like, I'm on Facebook, I have a bio on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, I have a bio on Twitter. Fine, but it's whatever. But in Quora, I have bios per topic. So if I'm on Salesforce, I have a bio about my experience in Salesforce. If I'm on GTD, I have a bio about my experiences. So I think it's very contextual. So you're looking at someone that this is what they know about this subject matter, and having that expertise to boil up. So it looks like some of that, not the bio piece, but it looks like some of that, the expertise stuff is coming up a little bit more. Again, I still think it's like it's Chatter meta that I'm not sure. I don't see people asking about it. Maybe in like mega orgs. But it's certainly not something that of all the things that I hear day to day, like why doesn't this work? Why doesn't that work? What's this? Having the ability to have a higher level of categorization of topics is not one of the ones that I hear a lot.
No.
But I'm excited for it because I love the concept, and we as search people love the concept of aggregated search.
Yes.
And self-aggregated and automatically aggregating and what they call it, not fractalization. What is it? Come on.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry.
Collecting categories of search categories. What are they called? They're called fragments or, oh well, it's the end of the day.
I don't know.
It'll come to me.
The name will come later in the... Are you excited about search within a feed?
A little bit. I saw that. I'm a little bit excited about that. I don't...
Facets,
that was it. Good, you found it. Good job.
I didn't find it. It came up in my brain.
Oh, okay.
Recall.
And I know the number one big topic you're just head over heels about because it's your idea, so I'll have to bring it up so you don't sound like a total DB by bringing it up yourself, which is your idea to have permission sets or record types associated to permission sets. So you can now use permission sets to assign record type permissions. That took up at least 10 pages, 15 pages.
No, it did not.
Oh, it was huge.
It didn't take up 15 pages.
It's huge. So I know you've written. Well, no, have you written a blog post about it? No, you wrote a big thing about record types, and this is sort of.
I wrote a thing on record types themselves, 2 pages. My idea only got 2 pages.
Only 2 pages.
But it did get linked, and if you click on it in the release notes, it actually lands you on my idea with my name on it, which is kind of cool.
That is.
This will be my 3rd idea to production, which makes me a rock star.
It does.
Yeah, I'm really excited. So now you can add permission sets or you can add record types selection inside of a permission set so that you can assign those to different users. You no longer have to clone and proliferate profiles in order to just give the permission to create a record type. I've had so many in-depth conversations with Adam Torman, product manager extraordinaire, around permissions and permission sets. And we tossed around just some of the most fun use cases in the universe when it comes to how deep you can really get. And I wrote about it in the blog post. It was kind of my favorite wonky use case, which is, well, now I could, the reason I wrote that blog post was because of the misconception around record types in profiles themselves, and people don't understand that all that does is give a person the ability to create that record type or change a record to that record type. They'll see it in the dropdown when they click new record and they land on the splash page and there's 2 or 3 or 5 record types. They'll see it in that record type or in that dropdown. They don't understand that it doesn't control whether or not they can see records in that record type. That's still handled in sharing. And my favorite use case with Adam when we were talking about it was, well, what if I give a permission set to a user who has a role that says that they can't see that record type, but now I've allowed them to create it so they can create a record that they can't see. Kind of a fun one.
That is a fun one.
Anyway, features coming. I'm happy about it.
It's a good one. I mean, permission sets, not only, as I said to someone, I said, not only did we have some, I guess I wrote in the blog post, again, 2 weeks out, maybe we'll publish next week, whatever.
No double publishing.
No double publishing. You gotta save those up.
Just throws it all.
But permission sets have gone from something that we had very small amount to do with way back when to something that now is like proliferated across all.
See, it is a tough word.
It is a tough word. All of these different areas, and so like with the blog post I'm writing is what's new in permission sets in Summer 13, and what's the new things you need to consider. And some of them are not even, they're like new features, but they're using permission sets as a way to keep the old feature turned on, which I found really interesting. So I'll talk about that. One of the new features that's been coming out, which is the new SMS identification, which actually I'm getting a lot of in all these orgs.
Getting tons of them. Every org I log into now is like, give me your email, or give me your phone number.
Give me your phone number. So for you Salesforce users who know when you log in from a source that you've never logged in from before, after the first time you've logged in, so the first time it doesn't do this, but the second time, so you go home and you log in, it asks you for a code, and it says if you don't, send me my code, and it sends it to your email address on file. Now, the problem with that is, and the reason they're changing this is because email is something that's usually hacked at the same time that your computer is hacked. Because if your computer is hacked, well, then I've got your computer and your email. I've basically taken over your life. But phones generally aren't hacked at the same time. Meaning, if I got your computer and I have your email and I have your email password and your Salesforce password, chances are I won't have your phone because people report their phones faster, and they're usually on them 24/7, right? So the idea is to move the two-factor authentication away from email, which again gets hacked at the same time, into something that's sort of more personal and kept on your body. So moving from that activation code, going from email, goes to text message. I guess text messages no longer have any value. They used to have value. You used to have
don't text me. You better warn me that message rates may apply.
Right. It's 30 cents. So I feel like they're going down to no value now. And so there's a feature to turn this on for the org. They're actually making it sort of as I think it's a critical update, isn't it? To turn this feed. It's been a critical update.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, you're gonna lose on
the
the second
SMS stuff?
one. Yeah, it's been a critical update in the orgs.
I do not believe it's a critical
and they're
update.
forcing people to go into it. Basically, they're turning this on and making people do it. Now, some organizations, as I pointed out, some organizations might be like, listen, that's great, but we don't control the people's phones, or we don't want them having phones, or we don't want that part of our vernacular here. We don't need the cell phones in our org. So there's a permission set you can use to keep users on the same, like not being able to use the email verification. And so if there were ever a feature where you need to assign a permission set to a lot of users, the permissioner, this is it. Because I have 200 users, I need to assign this permission to a permission set, and then assign the permission set. You got some time,
You need the permissioner. It'll take you like 2 seconds.
So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. Now it's a neat way of doing. It's a neat way of doing a feature, sort of a forced feature, but being able to stay out of it, right? So kind of interesting. What else? Anything else? Was it? Give me one small thing. We've used up some time here.
Oh, a small thing.
I actually have a fail here because I was using Adobe Acrobat on my iPad and I made all these notes, but I can't consolidate them to see where my notes are. So I had to scroll through 269 pages to find some of my notes.
All right, a small thing. Well, I have to pick one, eh? All right. How about formula updates?
Oh, you're gonna do the one that? Okay, yeah, go for it. You chatter on it. Let's hash it out.
What do you mean?
Which one?
Well, there's 2. Okay. I think one is better than the other. You know what? I'll use the one that I didn't write about in the blog post.
Okay, good.
Because I'll leave some for the blog post. So, checkbox formulas, pretty simple. You used to have to write these as text, true or false, but now you can just write a checkbox formula that fills in a checkbox, true or false. I think that's better than a text box that says true or false, or a pick list that says true or false.
That's nice. That's very nice. That's pretty.
It's easier for reporting.
Yeah. There's a lot. I mean, I was thinking about there's so much stuff coming to mobile.
That's a little tiny one.
They're doing a
Outlook has some stuff.
They're doing a beta of Salesforce Touch offline.
That's nice. There's another big pilot beta one in there.
Which is what?
The Sunlight search.
Oh, the search, the aggregated search.
The SharePoint, being able to search SharePoint from inside of Salesforce.
Yeah, the people from Kona Search are not happy about that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't be happy if I were them either. But I don't know how you even get this. I bet it's like one of those App Exchange packages that you have to install or something.
There were more than a few pilots that I was like, as I was reading, I was writing them down, going, "Ooh, I want to be in that pilot. Ooh, I want to be in that pilot. Ooh, I want to be in that pilot." Basically, I want to be in all pilots because I love having.
Oh, we don't have SharePoint, so I don't really care.
No, that one I don't care.
But if they had like a Google Docs search,
well, we've seen that.
I would like that.
We've seen that in like future worlds or screenshots or like somewhere that the world is going to be all consolidated into one search view. I'm excited about that.
One search to rule them all.
Yes. All right. Speaking of things to rule them all, let's move away from our release notes.
There's so much more to talk about in the release. God. We may come back to it in the next podcast.
Well, because we're going to talk about your blog post next week, and we're talking about my blog post the week afterwards, so we'll be back to it.
We'll be back.
But we'll probably sprinkle in some other stuff. And then maybe in 3 weeks, if you're the blog master, maybe in 3 weeks we should pick a topic and start talking about it that we're going to do it. Maybe pick a topic that we want to do a sort of a deeper dive on, right? Every 6 weeks or so. So
sure.
Maybe by next week we'll have what we want to talk about in 3 weeks as the big topic. All right?
Yeah.
So let's do your CloudFocus app pick of the week.
All right.
I don't know where the funny voices are coming from.
Speaking of sprinkling it in,
I cannot believe it. I can't believe I saw this, and I don't know what. And I hope.
Do you even know what this is?
I hope this is not what I think it is.
What do you mean?
All right.
Do you know what it is?
No, I don't know what it is.
It's called Run P. Okay.
This is horrible.
Now you're a runner.
I know what this is.
So you probably think that's what it is, but it's not.
I feel like this is a bathroom finder.
It's a app for the movies, and when you go to the movies, it tells you when to go to the bathroom during a movie.
This is the greatest app ever.
This guy, this dude, and his mother and sister wrote this application, and the three of them go and see every movie.
Okay.
And they write down when you should go to the bathroom.
How do they tell you that when you should go?
You have to look at the app. If you're, for example, if you're going to see Iron Man 3,
which I am going to.
Okay, I will tell you when to pee during Iron Man 3.
I cannot.
There are 3 times. 3 optimal times during Iron Man 3.
I can drink a lot of Diet Coke and go see this movie.
So 55 minutes into the movie, you can run pee for 4 minutes. And this is the coolest part. It tells you when to go. The moment, it just says, when Tony Stark ends the scene at the bar with the line, "Sweetheart, that can be the name of my autobiography. You can go pee." And then, while you're peeing, there's a little link here that you can click, and it says what happens during that time. So they give you a little synopsis.
So while you're peeing,
you can see what you're missing, because that's important. It gives you a little a form, what's happening during these 4 minutes.
I would have paid a lot more for this.
It's 99 cents.
That's ridiculous.
They go see the movies as fast as they can, and they basically see them the day that they come out during the day. I don't know how they've seen Iron Man already. Maybe, I don't know,
pre-release stuff.
Pre-release, I don't know. Because I think it comes out in 2 days. But anyway,
it comes out today, isn't it? A
Wednesday
comes out opener?
Friday. Maybe it's a Wednesday opener. Maybe that's why it's in there already. But it basically tells you when you can go to pee, and it's 99 cents, and it's on the Android and the iPhone stores, and you can and Windows. So if you have a Windows phone, for those of you out there that have Windows phones and see movies, narrowing the gap to 4 people.
Oh man,
sorry. You can.
Those people who have Windows apps and listen to podcasts certainly aren't going to be on listening to this one.
I think this is awesome. It's here's a 3-minute window to go pee, and here's what happens during the 3 minutes.
It is absolutely brilliant. I am stunned. 2 things. I'm stunned. It's only 99 cents because it seems like. It's just brilliant. It's brilliant. I'm floored.
I mean, even
have you used it though?
No, because I don't like pulling the phone out. They even say be courteous. Look ahead.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, don't pull the if you need to pee though during the middle of the movie, you could pull it out and be like, oh when
no,
should I
you
pee?
wouldn't do that.
Yeah, you want to look at it before.
Here's the thing. I go see tons of movies, and I generally can sense, right? There's moments you can sense we're getting to that point. Some movies are easier than others, but after a big action sequence, you can sense okay, now it's time. What I love about this is because before I go see any movie, I tell you, my wife, she's gonna buy 5 of these apps. I don't know how you can buy 5 because this is her number one thing.
Tell her to buy this.
I will make her very happy with
basically this guy Dan, his mother and his sister on Fridays go see every movie that comes out during the day.
Right.
And then they write their notes, and they go home and they push out these notes on these movies. I think it's fantastic. It's 99 cents. And it's it's universal too. If you take your iPad to the
because I think that's the way I would use it. I wouldn't really use
look
it
ahead. So like I just told you, 55 minutes into Iron Man 3, you can go pee for 4 minutes.
Right, and it's not the 55 minutes because I won't know that.
The reason why you want to have it on the phone is so that when you go pee, you can read the synopsis of what you're missing.
Right.
Which is the genius part of it.
If you could make it better by knowing that when you're going to go pee, and then it could you kind of start it at the beginning of the movie, and then it kind of gives you
it'd be cool if it could do a little notification.
Vibrates.
I'm at this movie.
Yeah.
So
notify
vibrate
me at the 55 minutes.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm at the movie, so notify me.
And then when I'm running to the bathroom, pull it up. Put the thing up.
Put it in my passbook. Let me slide it open
so I can see what's going on.
So that's my app. I think it's pretty cool.
So. Like normal, you've picked something you haven't used yet, but it was a good one.
Well, I've used it. I just haven't used it the way I would think a
lot
of people use it.
You haven't gone to see a movie that you knew was going to have to run pee and...
Well, that's the thing. I haven't opened it up to use it because I haven't peed in theater since I had it.
So unlike you, I'm going to pick something that I have used 50 times, and I used them all 50 times last night.
Oh.
So we kind of were talking about this the other day that I said I was part of a PTA, kids' school, whatever. And last night we threw an auction, like a auction dinner at a local restaurant. And one of our big concerns was, how do we have people pay for things, pay for tickets, pay for raffle tickets, pay for real tickets, and pay for things when they check out. So you win an auction, how much you can pay, right? And so I said, well, I'm the tech guy in the group, so I'll go figure it out. I went and researched Square, Intuit, and PayPal as the ones to, which ones you go to. And I ended up using the PayPal one. I want to tell you a couple reasons, because this might be for a lot of people who do payment stuff. Here's why. So PayPal actually gives a discount to nonprofits. They're the only ones that do, or that I could see. I went, so that's big. If you're a nonprofit, every little penny counts, right? So they give a discount for the the transaction discount. That's one. Two is PayPal, unlike Square and Intuit, maybe Intuit, but definitely not Square, allows you to not only use this little device, which is my pick of the week, but you can also just go put a PayPal link on your website. So go create a button called Pay Me Now, and people go in and click a button and they pay. So that's pretty brilliant, right? That's half of the battle, right? Doing this stuff is great, but the other half is that we had 140 tickets or 130 tickets sold off the website before they even came to the event. So I'm picking something called PayPal Here. And it is a small device. So they all have their own, like, Intuit's is like thing.
Square's white square.
And PayPal's
is a blue triangle.
It's blue triangle. And it has this little slide down thing that slides down to stop it from swinging back and forth.
Oh.
It's kind of smart. And it comes with an app called PayPal Here that you connect up into your device, right? So you turn it on. It's universal. So I'll tell you, this is the winner. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. I took all the payments through the iPad because it's so big. People can swipe. It's like big. You type things in, especially when you're trying to do for a lot of transactions.
But you could have done it on your iPhone, I imagine.
I did it on my iPhone originally, but it's also nice because an iPad has a big battery and can last longer. And your iPhone you want to make phone calls with, so it's great to have it on the iPad. Works great. You swipe the card. You put in the amount. You hit it. Swipe the card. You then thing. They then can choose. You want a receipt, text, or email. Same as everybody.
Yep.
And then it goes back to the next one. I mean, used it, again, 50, 60 times yesterday. The other thing was bought for them, the little devices. They're actually free if you ask PayPal, but you can buy them at Staples and they'll send you like a rebate. So I gave them to everybody else, and they all got the app, signed in, multi-user. So I gave them a username and passwords with different permissions inside of PayPal so they could only do certain things. They were all swiping, all the same account. It was great. It worked like a charm. So I'm picking the PayPal Here, this little device-a-rooney, which is free, really. It's $15 if you go to Staples, but you can just go to PayPal. The weird thing about signing up for it is you have to have the app first, and then go into the app, and then request it, and then they send it to you. But it was great. It literally did everything. There's no limits. I asked about limits, like what happens if someone purchases for like $2,000? No limits. You have to get good at swiping. I'll say they even have a practice mode where you can swipe. They'll show you how to swipe over and over again. I did tons of practice on myself. It is a very, very good app. A very good app. So it's an app and the little device. PayPal Here. The app on the iPhone and iPad were great. I'm handing it over to you. It was good. And again, uses the internet. So I did it all on
the what?
The internet.
The who?
And people were amazed. They're like, "You take credit cards?" And you like swipe. Here you go.
Yeah.
And
Give me your credit card.
And then I have the PayPal app, which is a separate app.
Right.
But I was getting these notifications, so I'd open up my phone and I'd see like all the payments coming in.
It's cool how these work, where they go into the headphone jack. The headphone jack has turned into not a headphone jack.
Yes.
Because it has that third ribbon that can do all sorts of things.
Do everything.
Voice and...
So it all goes in there.
Yeah.
Anyway, great app, great thing. I think the only thing I would like is if it fit a little bit more, because it does spin around, and so you kind of have to, again, on the iPad, the iPad Mini, it works great, because you can see how, so you hold it like this, and you swipe like this.
Right.
And it worked, but I would tell you, they hand it to somebody, my screen looks
people love it.
It was great.
Yeah,
and
people like paying through those things.
Yep. And here's the thing, if you're doing nonprofit events, people will spend more.
Yeah.
They got $20 on them, and we were selling these $100 packs of tickets. And they'd be like, "Oh, I got $40." Well, I take credit cards. They're like, "Oh, I'll take it." They don't care then. They're on to credit card land. Anyway, so PayPal here, great. I'm sure Square and Intuit are great. Again, that's the reason I told you, because of the dual purpose. That's why I picked it. Really appreciate it. All right, so that's it for this week. Remember to go to blog.arkusinc.com to read up on all the blog posts and the podcast. Remember to go to iTunes and leave us reviews. Remember to subscribe on iTunes. You can also subscribe on the blog. We don't talk about that, but you can actually subscribe in Feedly if you want. We're on, Justin here is on Twitter at twitter.com/JustEdelstein. I'm at Jason M. Atwood. And Arkus is at Arkus Inc. We're also on Facebook. We're on the Google+. We're on the LinkedIn. We're in the Dreamforce portal, which still has people in it and talking. So we have our own group in there. So if you just want to go in there and maybe have a more private conversation, we're in there as well. All the great places. A big shout out to all our Salesforce listeners. Apparently,
yes.
Apparently, there's more than one.
Put the links in your chatter.
Yeah. Why is it not in Org 62? And we'll be back next week with more from CloudFocus Weekly. Until then, as always, enjoy those cloudy days.